For everything from video games, comic books, films, and beyond, you're listening to the Geek Guy Podcast with your host, Albert Albanese, here on the Slam Sessions Podcast Network. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Slam Sessions Podcast Network. This is the Geek Guy Podcast. I'm your host, Albert Albanese. As always, if you want to follow me on social media, it's facebook.com/the Slam Sessions Podcast Network, and also on Twitter at the Slam Sessions. Today, I'm bringing you for the first time our show, not just live, but Facebook Live. That's right. I'm going to, I'm sitting here and I'm live with everybody, and they're all, getting to see my beautiful face as we go live for the first time ever on the Slam Sessions Podcast Network with the Geek Guy Podcast. So this week, we're going to talk about basically what the most major thing is on the forefront of just about everybody's mind. Marvel Studios, their big three movies that are coming out this year, and what the anticipation is for all three of these movies. Now, I know that a lot of people who may have in the past listened to a couple of the podcasts that I've done with my friend Tom Melendez, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. We talked about these films in length. We have a great. There's a great admiration here for Marvel Studios and what they have brought to the table as far as their podcasts, because, apparently this is the first thing that's on my mind, their films, and what they've actually brought to the table as opposed to what we have coming up. Now, the big three this year, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is coming out in just really a couple of days, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Thor Ragnarok. Now, there's a lot of anticipation for these films. Let's face it, we've seen a lot of people go nuts over a basically unknown team, a band of brothers named the Guardians of the Galaxy, this goofy raccoon, this giant tree, this guy who has no idea what a metaphor is, and, is just a giant brute. There's obviously Star-Lord and Gamora who hold everything together there, and, it's a really cool thing to see that Marvel took a chance on a property that wasn't really that well known, and they actually turned it into something that was huge. There's a lot of people who saw the first movie and were blown away, and I was one of them. I think that director James Gunn did a great job with this film and putting it together and piecing it together so that we get to see all these characters, and also we got to get one of the best soundtracks ever. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 comes out, and man, that soundtrack is unbelievable. Guys, go listen to it. It's awesome. Once again, they did a great job in making sure that we had not only a great soundtrack, but we had what looks to be a great film. Now, we've seen the previews. We've seen, the introduction of new characters like Mantis. We see that, Gamora is going to be a little bit more of a, and her and Nebula are both going to be kind of looking like they're fighting on the same side. Maybe, maybe they're not, maybe they are. But, it's really cool to see that they're taking these characters and they're making them important in this universe, so much so that the big rumors are that during Infinity War, there might be a showdown between the Avengers and the Guardians, and that's something that everybody wants to see. And if you would have told me, maybe 8 years ago that everybody really wanted to see an Avengers versus Guardians of the Galaxy on the big screen, I would have said, who cares about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Now, they're one of the most coveted franchises that Marvel has. They took a really big chance, and they did a great job. And, of course, the major news coming out, as you know, 5 cutscenes post-credit in this film. I mean, we are always blown away with the anticipation in getting one post-credit scene. We have 5. We have mid-credit scenes. We have after-credit scenes. We have, completely post-credit scenes. Marvel is giving everybody what they want here, guys. And I can't tell you how excited that I am for this film to come out. Moving on from Guardians, we're going to move on to Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, this is one of the more interesting stories in the Marvel Universe at this point. There's a lot of, there's a lot of speculation about what's going to happen when it comes to the Marvel franchise and their owning and use of Spider-Man. We know that Spider-Man has been owned by Sony for a very long time. We know that Sony has licensed out their, they've licensed out the Spider-Man to them, letting the Marvel Universe use Spider-Man now. And I think that we've done, I think Marvel didn't establish a great job just by having Spider-Man introduced into the Marvel Universe, into the MCU in Captain America Civil War. It hyped everybody up so much. Just this couple of small scenes that Tom Holland was in made everybody realize this is finally the Spider-Man we want to see on screen. And that's awesome. Marvel did a fantastic job in giving people what they wanted, and now we see the trailer to Spider-Man Homecoming, and man, that movie looks outrageous. We've gotten to a point now where we've expected just excellency out of almost every Marvel movie we've seen. There's been hiccups in the road. A lot of people aren't a big fan of the third Iron Man film, the second Thor film. There's been a couple of hiccups. Maybe everything hasn't been perfect, but for the most part, they've all been watchable, enjoyable movies, some of them even more so than others. We've gotten to a point now where Marvel has done an excellent job with every one of their characters, and they're doing the exact same with Spider-Man. Tom Holland was the perfect choice to cast for Spider-Man. He's done a great job. He's geeky, but he's kind of a little bit cool. He's absolutely just the perfect Spider-Man. It looks like they lifted Spider-Man off the page of a comic book and threw him into a film. I think that Marvel is, one of the best film studios now because they're giving fans what they want. But Sony selfishly kind of wanted, they kind of wanted to take everything back. And I understand it. They wanted to build their own, I guess they want to build their own franchise and build off of what Marvel started. But by taking the rights back to Spider-Man, pulling it back and, saying, okay, well, you did a good job, we'll take it from here, they may just ruin the Spider-Man character again. And we've seen the Spider-Man character reset on screen for the third time in my lifetime. And I mean, the first Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire came out when I was in high school. This is 3 times since high school that we've seen, since my high school days at least, that we've seen a new Spider-Man. Sony, it would be smart to just keep something going with Marvel. Let them use Spider-Man when they want and just have the Spider-Man franchise in itself just open up to the idea that, they can, branch out and do whatever they want there and maybe not make it completely interconnected with the Marvel Universe. They just get to make cool films out of it. I'm a little concerned because I don't want to see Spider-Man become something that was huge and glorified and then, bam, Sony just knocks it right back down. I'm not a big fan of seeing Sony take this this opportunity to try to just maximize their gain on this end of the deal, until they get what they want and then just say, okay, well, here's the rug. We're going to pull it out right from underneath you. I really just believe that we haven't seen the best Spider-Man film on screen yet. I know I'm not the only person who thinks this. A lot of people, there are some people who like the Tobey Maguire movies. Some people who, thought the first Andrew Garfield film was good and then they went to crap in the second one. There are some people who don't like any of them at all. And I kind of, believe that I didn't mind the first 2 Spider-Man films, but man, Spider-Man 3 was just completely, just absolute garbage. And, the Andrew Garfield films, they captured a little bit of what, we kind of wanted, but they didn't give us exactly what we wanted and they went overboard. So with that being said, Marvel looks like they're building the best Spider-Man film that they possibly can. They're putting in all the characters that we want to see. They're putting, setting stones, setting up steps for, the future Spider-Man films. And that's what hurts. It hurts as, a fan to know that Marvel had a plan. They actually wanted to build the Spider-Man universe almost like a Harry Potter universe in a sense where he's in high school and then, they build him up into high school and then he gets out of high school and he'd be in college. And, we see, Spider-Man evolve like, right in front of our eyes. He grows in front of our eyes. And now we might not get to see that because Sony might want the rights back. It's just one of those ideas where Spider-Man is he's just one of a lot of people's favorite superheroes. And when we see Spider-Man on screen and we don't get the reaction that we wanted, and we don't get the film that we wanted, man, it puts a bad taste in people's mouths. So I hope that Sony can come to some sort of a deal where they can keep the Spider-Man in the Marvel franchise, and maybe have Marvel help them out when they want to do their own films with Spider-Man. Just collaborate. I don't understand why the art of collaboration has completely, just gone by the wayside here. With that being said, there's a lot of different things that we can take from out of what Sony's done with this deal. Sony has made it so that they can have their cake and eat it too. Let Spider-Man, open up with the idea of Spider-Man opens up the deal with Marvel, and then Marvel, makes him great. And then Marvel builds him up and puts him on a pedestal. And then just when he's at the absolute top of that pedestal, bam, here comes Sony, swipes him down, takes him out, brings him over, and maybe ruins that franchise. Now, I'm not saying that Sony will, but Sony hasn't proven to me they can put out a picture-perfect Spider-Man film. I know Marvel can do it. So, with that being said, we'll move on to the third film in this Marvel franchise, Thor Ragnarok. Now, I know that, Tom and I, a couple of weeks ago, really dug into the Thor Ragnarok trailer. Tom was really good in bringing in the Planet Hulk side of it. There's not a lot to say except for the fact that I actually just may be more excited about this Thor film than I am about the Spider-Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy film. And I think that's weird because a lot of people haven't really been surrounding this with a lot of hype. I really think that Thor has less hype than Guardians because Guardians was such a box office smash. It's being less discussed than Spider-Man because Spider-Man is just one of those one of those top elite characters, and then we have Thor, who, let's face it, the first Thor movie was pretty solid. Then after that, they did the first Thor movie. Then we went to the second one, and man, it just wasn't what everybody expected. Everybody expected the second Thor movie to be one of these great films, just like Marvel had been churning out, and I just think that they kind of fell off. And this is one of those situations where Marvel actually looks like they didn't do what they wanted to do when it came to the Thor film. I think that, we've gotten to a point where Thor has been kind of pushed to the side and been like a secondary character. And I don't like that fact because, let's face it, Thor is one of the best characters that Marvel has, and they can make a solid movie. But man, looking at this trailer, looking at this film, I think we finally see that Thor can be that movie. Thor Ragnarok looks amazing. The idea that we're going to get a scene where just Thor and Hulk and, just a whole bunch of other people are going to sit in a pit and just start beating the crap out of each other is awesome. And then you take it from there. We understand that Thor now faces the Hulk, which is really going to show off both Thor and the Hulk in that movie, showing how strong they both are, showing off what kind of damage they can cause. And then the introduction of some of these cool characters, like the Grandmaster, Loki is back. We see all of these. Mera is Mera. I'm thinking of Aquaman right now because that was on my mind. Hera is in the film too. I mean, these are just so many really cool characters from the Thor mythology, from the Thor mythos that we get introduced into the Thor Ragnarok film. So, where I stand, I think we have the most to gain by seeing Thor on screen. I think everybody's expecting really huge things from Spider-Man and really huge things from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think everybody's sleeping on Thor. And man, if you're sleeping on Thor, you're sleeping on the wrong film because I have this feeling in my bones that Thor Ragnarok is going to be one of the best Marvel films this year. I think it actually could be better than both Guardians and Spider-Man. And I know that's a long shot and that's a big thing to say, but I just think they've put in the work. They've realized the mistakes they've made with Thor. They've made it so that we actually can have a big interest again in the Thor character. So I don't know what everybody else thinks, and if you guys are watching live or you're listening on YouTube, look, give me a comment. Let me know. Tell me what you guys think is going to be the biggest Marvel film of this year. Because I really, truly believe that with the introduction of all these new Thor characters, that we have what could possibly be the best Thor film and the best Marvel film is just from this year. I think that's a lofty goal, and it's a lofty statement, and it's a lot of admiration that I have for the director and the writers of this film, because I really do believe it could be the best. With that being said, I think we really need to all start taking a look at the Marvel films as a whole. I think we really need to see how Marvel builds this up and see how this leads into Avengers Infinity War. Because in Avengers Infinity War, we've got a lot of different ideas that are floating around to see what Avengers Infinity War is truly going to be. It looks like it's going to be, a complete experience at this point. We might see some characters that we've never seen before. We might see some characters that we don't really know a lot about. And it looks like Thanos at one point has to be in one of these 3 films, whether it's in a cutscene or whether it's in the actual film, to establish where he's coming from. And, there's been a lot of rumors about Infinity War. The biggest rumor now surrounding Infinity War is that Infinity Gauntlet will be the one that follows. So this just may be the first film showing showing Thanos collecting the Infinity Rings, filling up his Infinity Gauntlet, and then getting him set for Infinity Gauntlet, where he takes on the entire Marvel universe. So with that being said, I think what we need to do is we need to see how this sets everything up, how we set up Infinity War, how we set up the Marvel universe after that, and what the shakeup will be for the Marvel universe after that. Because, as we know, the Marvel universe will, be in phase 4. It's completely different. We have brand new characters, a lot of new things coming up. Contracts are expiring. Different people are getting, different, it looks like they're going different ways. You have guys like Chris Evans saying he could play Captain America for as long as he physically can, and then saying he might opt out of his, he might opt out if, this could be the last film for him, the Infinity Saga. And you have people like Chris Hemsworth, who just, I can't expect anybody else to be Thor. So we have to introduce these new characters, and Marvel's been doing a good job by introducing the Black Panther, by introducing Doctor Strange. So we've an Ant-Man. We've seen these new characters slowly getting introduced into the Marvel universe. Ones that may stay, but the mainstays, the big ones, the Iron Mans, the Captain Americas, the Thors, the Spider-Mans, these big characters need a home in the Marvel universe. So it's going to be interesting to see what Phase 4 brings us. With that being said, I'm Albert Albanese, and this has been the Geek Guy Podcast. Thank you, everybody who took some time out, for even if it was just for a couple of seconds, to listen to me and to catch a little bit about what I'm all about. And please make the effort to jump on to the YouTube and listen to this show fully. Please make the effort to share all my stuff with everybody else, because I'd really appreciate it. I'd love to have everybody. I'd love for everybody to help me out, and in turn, I'd love for everybody to give me some examples by helping them out, so I can cover some stuff and talk about some stuff that you guys actually really want to hear. So please comment, please share, please like, please do whatever you can, and I will try to turn out the best podcasts that I possibly can for all of you guys as often as I can. With that being said, I'm Albert Albanese. This has been the Geek Guy Podcast. Again, on Twitter, you can follow me at the Slam Sessions. On Facebook, it's it's facebook.com/the Slam Sessions Podcast Network. I got that one out. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Geek Guy Podcast right here on the Slam Sessions Podcast Network. You can follow us on Twitter at the Slam Sessions. We'll see you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.